Hello there, everybody. This is Trader Stewie with you here again from the artoftrading.net. I just want to do a video today for you guys who, briefly, hopefully, I mean, it's a very, very hard topic to discuss, but, I'll try to do it anyway about how to spot, or, one of the ways on how I like to spot bottoming formations or bottoming stocks or stocks that look like they're potentially putting in short-term bottoms. Let's just get straight to it. I'll give you an example of a trade that we did um, here at the artoftraining.net service. This is the stock is MCP Molycorp. We made a trade in it back in mid-June. But I just want to quickly, just discuss why this stock grabbed my attention and why we took the trade and how we played it. Basically, MCP, it's one of those momentum names. So, momentum, as you folks know, it goes both ways. You have momentum up and then momentum down. For MCP, it topped out back in early April. As you can see here, it had a top here, and then it had another top here. So it was technically a double top, and it came crashing down. It went from 35 all the way down to 19, where it had like a almost like a climax sell-off here these last few days on this. You see these four red candles, four strong, back-to-back candles. Typically you see this, during climax sell-offs, especially if volume is very, very strong. But anyway, so the stock found a short-term low here, hovered back and forth here, and as you can see here, 1938 was the low on this one. Tried to give a very weak bounce and came back down and retested 1911 to be exact. So we have here a low at 1938. We have another low here at 1911, and it held. And this time, the second time around, it gave you a bigger bounce. So this was, kind of like a mini double bottom, if you like. Around the 19 area, that showed like to be a very short-term bottom. So that to me is where you should be starting to pay attention at this point, because bottoming is it's rarely a one-day event. It's usually a series of events or a series of candles or a process, which is the best way to describe it. So you have here, it made a low here, weak bounce, made a retest of that low here, gave you a little stronger bounce here. So that's the time to pay attention. And you can see here, like most stocks that are in very, very strong trends, this one being a downtrend, it touched the 20-day moving average. It tried to break above it and it failed. It collapsed. So that right there showed us that it failed at the 20-day moving average. So the trend is basically still intact, and we technically still could go lower, and it did. So, and then we came back down here, and however, this time, guys, take a look. The stock came down for a few days, retested that 19 area. This time the low was 1949, so it definitely held 19. And if anything, and then now it's starting to move back up here. So now what we have is the start of the the process is what I'm trying to say. So like I said, it's a process. It's not rarely a one-day event. So you can see here you had a low here, you had a second low over here, and now we have a third low over here. So now, you can start to connect some lines here, and then you can see how as the stock, came down to retest these support areas, now what we're seeing is the MACD is starting to show us a divergence. So you can see how, as the price is coming down to retest these lows, the MACD is slowly but surely diverging. So it's starting to, it crossed here and it's turning back up, and the stock price is retesting the lows and it held. So now what we're seeing here is a change of character in the stock. So we have to start looking now for a potential that the stock or the sellers are getting weak. So now might be a good time to start looking the opposite way and start looking for longs. So this would be a very, very good pattern to look at here. Kind of like this little triangle type pattern here in a bottoming formation, where you had a low that was made here, a weak bounce that got retested, held a stronger bounce here. You can see how the volume increased on this bounce, so this is a good sign that buyers are stepping in bigger size. Obviously you want to see volume that looks like this, when you're looking for strong buyers. But this is good enough for for a small little bounce play. So that was one of the things that caught my attention too on this one. So it bounced here, it came back down on very low volume. Look how here the volume dropped off quite a bit as the stock pulled back in here to retest that 19 area, 1950 area. And you can see, guys, here on this candle right here, this is the one that really caught my attention. Look at the volume here. This volume bar here is where you should have been paying attention to this one, because first of all, MCP has a very, very high short interest, which means that a lot of traders, investors are holding short positions in this stock. So which makes it very, very vulnerable for a short squeeze. These are my favorite kind of plays, where a stock or momentum name looks to be bottoming, and then you see a very, very high short interest. And usually for this stock in particular, I like to go to Finviz, and you can check out the short interest there, and you can see how the short interest here on this stock, it was 26%. So 26% short on MCP. This is a huge, huge number. Um, so which means 26% of the shares, um, of the float is short. So I mean, this is a very big number. So I mean, even if a fraction of these investors or traders cover their shorts, if they feel like they're in a losing position, or if they feel like hey, the stock might have found a bottom, it's time to cover, then you're gonna see a pop, in stocks like this. So this is a perfect short squeeze candidate, coupled with a bottoming play. So there's two reasons to like this one at this point. So, and you can see here volume increased, which tells me now it's time to pay attention. So that was the day that we looked at it and we liked it. So once we spotted that daily candle, that I showed you guys earlier, now we moved on to the 5-minute chart, so we can start to pinpoint a nice little entry. So the daily chart looked attractive. Now we zoom in into the 5-minute chart and see if we can pinpoint a nice little entry, so we can get on board what could be the start of a short squeeze here. So as you can see here, June 19th, that was the day that we were looking at. um, you can see here how the stock gapped up here, quickly sold off and then quickly recovered, and you can see here it started moving sideways, hugging in just that 20 moving average, that 5-minute 20 period moving average, and it kept hugging it, and then right here, right on this pop right here on this candle, that's where I realized, okay, the stock is starting to, this is the 20 area, and I love to use like nice round numbers and momentum names. 20 was a perfect round number. Momentum names love round numbers, so 20, 10, 30, 40, 50, 100. Momentum names, when they get near, or close to these kind of numbers, then right away, at least from my experience, that you see a new influx of buyers, or you see either aggressive sellers or aggressive buyers. So in this case, we're looking to go long, and the stock appeared to be bottoming, and once it crossed 20, that right away grabbed my attention. So right away we entered long, and we shut off the alert when we got in around 2010. So around this area right over here, that was where we started to accumulate, start the position here at 2010. Stop loss at right underneath the day lows here at around 1970. So that was our stop loss around here. Um, so you can see here the stock, shot up for a little bit here, and then came back down, and then held the 20 period moving average on the 5-minute charts, and it kept holding it, and then as new buyers came in and took it higher, now the stock had the next obstacle, which was it had to clear the day's high right here with a 2018. So I knew if it was able to somehow and I love to get in right before the breakout. If I feel like a stock is gonna see an imminent breakout, if it's bound to break out, I am not gonna wait till it actually breaks out and then start chasing like everybody else. What I prefer to do is get in ahead of time, get in ahead of the breakout, and try to anticipate that play. So this is exactly what we did here. Got in around 2010. Stock hovered around here, right below the high of the day, which is around 2020. Around that 2020 area would have been the high of the day. And right away, once it broke 2020, guys, it never looked back. It just kept rocketing north. And you can see how this is classic momentum names that have very high short interest, like this one, in the 26 over 26% short interest. The minute if you are short and you start to see, the stock start to behave like this, chances are very high you would want to cover, and you would want to be out of that position. And as more and more traders, as more and more people who are short, see this, or vice versa, or coupled with it, people who are in our shoes, who are looking to go long this name to take advantage of a potential short squeeze, in a bottoming play, you want to get long. So those two forces together working can make stocks explode very quickly, very fast. And you can see here, I had a target of 21 on this trade. I have to admit, I was a little bit too impatient, because as the stock kept ramping up, we got in at 2010. The market wasn't too friendly at that point. We saw many failed breakouts. And after a while, you get tired of seeing, these, nice trades turn into mediocre trades, or turn into flat trades, because you didn't, maybe you got too greedy. You were trying to ride a bigger trend when the market wasn't really allowing that. So for me, taking a quick 3-4% gain in a few minutes, that was more than worthy. That was more than worthy of a reason for me to sell it. So we sold it around, I personally sold it for the alerts around the 2075 area, 2080 area. So I mean, it was a good move, for a good 3.5%. You know, a lot of our trading members, they know, that the best trades are the ones that work right away. So this one worked right away. And I know that a lot of members who sent me emails, or told me in the chat room that they were planning on holding this one overnight. And look at this, guys. As nice of a trade as it was from 2010 to 2080 area, as nice as that was, because my target was 21. It came within 5 cents of it, and it quickly came back. To it came back, pulling back down quite a bit here. A lot of members decided to hold it, and look at that, guys. The next day, the stock gaps up and gives you a huge short squeeze over here. Huge. I mean, if you bought the stock here at 2010 with us and held it, I mean, you were looking at, in the 23s, right, almost near the open the very next day. So that was a sweet trade, almost good for 3 points. And I know a lot of members did sell it the next day. So I mean, that was what I consider a home run trade. Anytime you can nail one of those trades like that, this is exactly, the kind of trades that hopefully everyone should be looking for, is trades that work right away, trades that move quickly in one direction, in the direction that you anticipate, and you get rewarded, for your work, for finding a setup like this. You get rewarded very quickly. So this is exactly what I love to look for. Stocks that look as if they are putting in bottoms. And you can see here, we identified this one because it had very high short interest. We had a climax sell-off here, a weak bounce that retested the 19 area and held. Another stronger bounce here that got rejected, came back down but held 19. And you can see here how it got our attention right when we saw this big volume bar here on this day. And you can see this around the 20 area where it started to clear this little cluster. This was where we really started to get interested in this name, right as it's starting to clear that 20 area in the low 20s. And you can see the next day, this is what it would look like. This is on the daily chart. And you can see here, guys, this is a classic bottoming formation, which I love to play in highly shorted stocks. This is the candle that caught our attention here. And look at the volume, how it increased here. It increased quite a bit. But look at the next day. This is where the real volume came in. Look at that huge breakout. It clears the 20-day moving average, and this time held it. It cleared it, and it closed above it, solidly above it. So, I suspect, if you were brave enough, or if you were smart enough to hold it and keep holding it and selling it around, in the 23 area, which would have been a good target, by the way, because as you can see here, the high from back in early June was 2307. So you probably knew that there were some people who were buying up here who were stuck. Once the price came back to the 23 area, you knew that a lot of people would probably be looking to sell. So that was a good target here. If you held it the next day, that would have been a sweet area an easy target, to identify. So anyway, this is one of the ways I look for bottoming formations, and I hope to help guys. And I will do more videos in the future to describe this very, very cool pattern, and definitely one of my favorite patterns to play. Okay, take care, guys.